Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it should work.
it is 6 o'clock, so I'm gonna call the meeting to order and ask everyone to rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Glad that everybody is here. We're gonna start the meeting with citizen comments. And we don't have any. All right, we'll move right along. Celebrations, Adam.
Well, good evening, board members, and happy holidays. We are in our last meeting of the calendar year. Celebrations for this evening, and a reminder, there's no news stories posted on the website. The website story posting's in a pause period while the new website's getting built in the background so that we don't have redundancy of efforts. So I'll just brief some celebrations that have occurred over the last couple of weeks, and then we'll hear some more later on in the evening. To start with, Williamston High School earned the 2024 College Success Award from greatschools.org. I believe this is maybe the 5th out of the last 6 years they've earned this, and the award essentially is for recognizing a college-bound culture and support strategies within the school, preparing students to continue their studies at the university level post-graduation. Obviously, the high school has branched out and covers a wide variety of career pathways for students, but this award specifically recognizes their efforts to prepare students for college. We also, I know I talked about this previously, but we have our new AP, College Board AP Honor Roll plaque posted on the wall. Those are very difficult to get if you go in and read the criteria for those. It has to do essentially with how many and how well students are doing on their AP testing. So preview for later. But again, congratulations on that achievement, our staff, students, and parents at our high school. A couple other things. Holiday season is, we're obviously in the middle of it, leading up to those, and this is one of the coolest times of year for me, watching kind of that interaction between our district and the community. Community goes above and beyond to support our schools, and I always very much appreciate how our schools reciprocate that, especially this time of year. I mean, all year long, but you probably notice a little more this time of year. So students organizing things for the food bank and different local organizations, having our different co-curricular activities, participate in the light parade on Saturday evening, obviously led by our marching band, but a lot of our other groups, including our Be Nice Club out there with a float. Pancakes with Santa, which I know is a Schools Foundation event, but we had many of our teachers volunteering there on Saturday morning, supporting that event, and another huge turnout, which was fantastic. So, and there's many more examples, holiday concert, there's a lot of things going on this time of year, but I think it's a really great reminder that this is something that makes our community special, and we just want to make sure not to take it for granted, because this type of thing doesn't happen everywhere. And so there's a lot more great things going on, but I think for this evening, I'll leave it at that. Again, wishing all of you, our staff, students, and parents, a very happy holiday season. And that's it for celebrations this evening, pending any questions.
Okay. Moving right along, we have our athletic update. Mr. Polstein.
Good evening. Hello, everybody. Everybody's doing all right? Is this remote?
Yeah.
Is this
We
the
have
one?
2 different clickers, so you can pick the one that
What best
gives you
suits?
the best chance of working.
Or that I won't mess up? Select a pen. Oh, that one doesn't work, maybe. Maybe I'm hitting the wrong
Is
button.
it me? Is it mine?
Aha, okay. I'll use the one that works.
For the backup plan.
Fall sports, which seems like a very long time ago since it's December. cross country. We had 11 girls out this year. We finished second in the conference, but we had a great day at our regionals, and the team qualified for state. And it was actually a great race day down there at MIS. That picture is from the starting line. If you haven't been to one of those state finals cross country meets, it is an absolute sight with all the kids in the infield from every division trying to get through the chute all at once. It's a pretty, one of the cooler things to see in sports, but it was a great day. It was a good year for our girls and Coach Westbrook. Boys cross country, that was a first place conference finish with 9 kids, and then we had one state qualifier. Boys happened to have a tougher regional and missed getting out as a team, but it was a great season, first conference in a few years for Coach Rathman. Girls golf, JV and varsity, Brian Kenton and Jay Dittman. Had 12 kids total. We finished second in conference. We did qualify for state, and following up on last year's runner-up, we were third place as a team this year. Really good group, really good run in the last couple of years. Hopefully we built a little foundation to keep that going. It was a good squad, but we lose a good part, lose a good piece, but we'll be able to rebuild. Boys tennis, head coach Trip Bowen, JV coach Colin Dombrowski. 24 kids out this year. We're second in conference and tied for second in the regionals, which also qualified them for team states. They had a little awkward one. They just because of some scheduling with the state, they had to play on Monday when every other division played on a Friday/Saturday, but nonetheless qualified for state and went down. One of our doubles was down there and advanced the furthest, but good run for the boys. A good group coming back as well. Boys soccer, we were third in conference. We play in a conference where we are in Division 3 and everybody else is 2, so we get some good competition. That allows us to be successful in district and regions, which we both won. Regions we hosted. Great weather, great finish to that. Headed out to North Farmington and lost to Notre Dame Prep in the semifinals in a great match. Basically tied all the way throughout, and they got a couple goals late. But 49 kids, that allowed us to play modified JVB schedule with some kids that wouldn't have seen a lot of time on the JV team, but had some scheduled sub-schedule and played some games so that everybody got enough participation. Volleyball, 3 levels, Coach Conklin, Coach Croft, and Coach Schneider. We had 41 kids total. 4th place finish in conference. We ended up losing in the second round of districts. Football, Coach Kirsten, Coach McCain, varsity and JV coaches respectively. 60 kids total. 4th place finish in conference. As we quite know, not our best record in many a year at 3-6, but with our tough schedule, we did qualify for state and lost to the eventual state champion. In our schedule, we played a couple state champions, a couple state semifinalists, and a regional champion. So we had a very tough schedule. And again, allowed us to get to the state semifinals for how many years in a row, keeping the program going strong and moving towards hopefully another successful season next year. Swim and dive, 14 girls, Coach Stewart. We finished first in our conference, and then we had a relay team qualify for state. If you haven't been to a state swim final, it's a very crowded, packed, probably somewhat a fire hazard place as they fit everybody into one building, but it is a pretty good sight just to see all those people and all this thing. And they are like clockwork. They're firing kids off the starting block. It's kind of a neat thing, but it was a good experience for that relay team. In sideline cheer, we have 11 girls out. If you were at any football games, the interaction that we have from the fans with the cheerleaders and everything else, it's been a last 2 years with how positive the reception has been of our sideline cheer team. Esports, Coach Billy, we had 13 kids out. We had 3 playoff teams, 4 teams we had ranked in the top 25 of their respective games. Some of those kids could have crossed over, just depending on what they played. But that program has definitely been a bright spot for those kids participating. The room, obviously, the picture was a little dark. If you haven't been in that room and seen it, it's just a neat space. It's a great thing for those kids. Coach Billy has done a great job getting involvement. A lot of new games coming out that Play Versus is offering, and we have all with the computers and our video game systems, we offer what the kids are wanting to play. So it's been a good addition to our varsity sports lineup. I don't remember, maybe it was last winter. That's just to kind of see participation over the last few years. And so I'm only going to speak to when I was here, just because I had that data. But as you can see, little ups and downs, but it's really not a dramatic change in any of the totals. Some up, some down, some whether anomaly here or there, just bigger class sizes or more participation in that grade. But it really has stayed steady. For our size of school, we really have stayed steady in a lot of our sports, numbers, totals, and even across the conference, just the trends as far as who's losing numbers in what sport. I mean, there's teams not fielding varsity sports this winter that are typically good. I mean, to pinpoint what specifically is going on is pretty hard. And I would say I'm pretty happy with what our coaches have been able to do to keep kids interested and out at a level that is, over the course of these 5 years, pretty consistent. Our equestrian club was the Division C state champions for equestrian. If that was an awesome deal, we're hoping that they can try and do it. We're going to honor them during a halftime of the game. We tried to do that during football. It just didn't work out with all their schedules. They were still doing horse shows on the weekend, so just a Friday night didn't work for them. But hoping we can pinpoint a date this winter to get them out there and give them the recognition they deserve in front of our community. We had 20 all-conference fall athletes, over all the athletes that recognized that within our conference. And then we had multiple academic all-state teams and as well as individuals. Our winter sports, which is in full swing, boys swim and dive, we have 12 participants out right now. That starts a little bit later than the other 3 sports. They start as soon as girls gets over. So they started Thanksgiving week this year. So there's potential just to see if some kids still may come out, but 12 is pretty close to what we've been in the past. Boys basketball is 37, and we have 3 teams there. Girls has 20, and we divided into 2 teams. Wrestling has 28 participants, 2 girls, and then this year we're participating in the girls division. It is separate when it comes to individual. At some point they make a choice whether they are going to participate in the girls tournament or the boys tournament, and we have a girl this year that will participate in the girls districts to hopefully, well, they just do regionals, but the girls regionals to advance to hopefully the state finals at Ford Field. Our hockey co-op with the 18 other schools that we have in it has 3 participants, and gymnastic co-op with Hazlitt and a few other schools has 5 participants. So all those seasons are going strong, and our kids are involved as ever. Some of the upcoming planned athletic events, our Be Nice game is February 14th against Hazlitt. We have, as we do, each team will be involved in the morning, going over to the school, doing some lunch promotion, and just being involved that entire day for our Be Nice program. It's been awesome to see them out interacting with the elementary, shaking hands, getting them off the bus. It's a really fun day. We get a lot of positive feedback from the families and the kids. And then tomorrow night, we have our Coaches vs. Cancer game that will be both girls and boys varsity. That we play tomorrow night, 5:30 and 7. Any questions on fall/winter?
I have a question about, is there any talk about once our teams get out of districts and go to regionals or states, is there any talk about there being a separate between private schools and public schools as far as competition-wise goes?
I could take that one.
Okay.
So, there has been some discussions that have taken place with MHSAA recently on that topic. I'll say that they have been receptive to questions and engaged in what I would say is a productive dialogue thus far. We have left it that there are plans for future conversations in the early months of 2025, and just looking to continue that dialogue. Is that good enough for the moment?
So we're talking.
Yes.
A lot of layers to that onion there.
Yeah, it's complicated,
It's very complicated, and of course we love competition.
but we are, the conversation's being had.
Okay, good.
I have a question. Is esports just in the fall, or is there
We have a fall and spring
spring? Okay.
season. And then just depending, I mean, there's no set, there's an organization, but not like the MHSA, so there's scrimmages, there's stuff, they kind of do things, I would say, year-round as far as the ability to qualify for playoffs. There's a designated fall and a designated spring season.
Any other questions?
Are athletes able to do multi-sports in the same season, or is it just single sports?
They are able, a variety of factors come into play, how the two sports correlate, what the schedule is, how the two coaches are able to work together, the workload, team versus individual. Obviously, individual sports are a little easier to make that happen.
Yeah.
If you can show up to something and run the fastest or shoot the lowest score, that's pretty cut and dry. But when it comes to a team thing, there's a few more factors that kind of play into that with practices and everything. So we have had kids. We've had a lot of kids have success in that in the fall. But that also is some individual sports with some team aspects. It's certainly a case-by-case basis. And again, it falls upon what is determined to be the primary sport, and then what kind of schedule that primary sport has in place for that specific athlete.
Understood.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank
Really
you.
successful
Really
season.
great fall.
Yeah. Okay, superintendent updates. I'm going to turn that over to Adam.
Starting with upcoming events and presentations, on January 6th will be the board's annual organization meeting. On January 13th, a reminder, there is a MASB workshop for the board that evening, focused on the new evaluation law, in particular the superintendent evaluation framework. On February 3rd will be the first, non-organizational regular board meeting, and Heather Lewis will be presenting the Ed Update at that meeting, focused on student mental health and social emotional learning initiatives. I know there's been questions by the board and interest in seeing how that's going this year. Cliff Notes version is very well, but Heather will elaborate on that in February and give you more details. Today, the smart device surveys were scheduled to go out, and so data collection should commence on that. Be ready for the board to review again early winter. And also, as you know, last week the FBI held the parent evening discussing sextortion and other online safety tips. We had a good number of parents show up. We always wish that there would be more. But those who did attend had good feedback at the end of the session, and we're grateful that we put it on. Hopefully some good information learned about some of the things that kids need to keep an eye out for online, and that includes, of course, playing video games online, and there's a lot to it. So what they're doing with their iPad or on a PlayStation, they're just as susceptible to some of these things as they are if they're on a computer or their phone. So tomorrow, I believe, will be the assemblies for students. They'll get a slightly different presentation, but direct to them, and hopefully that's well received. It's important stuff. Moving on to bond updates. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, before you move on, was the FBI, was that for 6th through 12th grade?
Mhm.
Or anyone could
Well,
attend? Any parent one?
The
could
parent
attend?
evening was for any parent, and
Parent,
we also invited Weberville and Dansville parents to attend if they would like. The seminars this week are for grades for middle and high school.
And then I just want to, before we move on to the bond thing, the workshop that we have on the 13th, dinner will be provided, so it'll probably be what we did last year, Old Nation. I'll send you the menu if you can get that to me, and then I think we met like a half an hour. Did we meet a half an hour before? I don't remember the logistics.
Yeah,
I guess I
came
mean,
in
I
a
can think
little
about
early.
it. But dinner will be provided on that evening, just so don't rush home to eat and then come or whatever you need to do. Okay, sorry. Now
Sure.
bond.
So bond updates, actually we've had quite a few positive developments since our last meeting. The contract with Chrisman now scheduled to get to the board at the January 6th meeting, but they don't seem to be concerned about it. It's just going through a review process, and I think we have all the details hashed out on that. So sorry for the delay, but no one seems to think that's a problem, and we got a long way to go with this thing. So. We received the architectural drawings last week for the middle and high school lockers, the tennis courts, and the first phase of the softball complex. Tennis courts, as you know, already scheduled to start on the 14th of May. Again, it's going to take about 90 days to get that completed, so we're trying to fit it in between the end of the regular season for our spring sports and get it done before the start of fall sport practices. Again, weather permitting over the summer. We are looking at now just some granular details in those drawings, such as things like the height of the fences, the design for the shade structures, items like that. But the base line schematics for that are completed at this point. Lockers are pretty straightforward. We got details on what the lockers will look like. There'll be it looks like a double stack design at the high school, similar to what's in the athletic wing, the newer wing of that building. And at the middle school, they'll be a little deeper and wider. The key consideration there is that they can fit the student Chromebook cases in the lockers, and that they work, which would be an upgrade over what we have now. But as far as the size goes, it's really making sure that students can store their Chromebook and other items in those lockers. And so more to come on that, but now we're looking at like what color should they be and things like that. But definitely making progress. What's that?
Purple?
Burgundy, yes. As
That's the,
or
that's
salmon.
the one of the choice?
Teal, yeah.
Good job, yeah,
Yeah.
love it.
It won't be any of those. And then softball, it looks like at this phase, at this point, we really pushed hard on that to try to get that done sooner than what was on the original schedule. So if you recall, that was slated originally to start summer of 2027. We really pushed on that one to get progress started on that before then. What it looks like is going to happen now, again, all this is subject to change, but what it looks like is going to happen now is it's going to get split into two phases. So the first phase, which will be summer of 2025, so this summer / fall, depending on how long construction takes, is to redo the infield and put that in with proper drainage. As you know, one of the major issues we have at the field now is when it rains, the girls lose games, not only that day, but like the following day, because there's not appropriate drainage. So that would be taken care of this summer. They're going to put in a new ADA compliant walking path connecting the parking lot to the softball field, and then the dugouts. Currently, right now, the way the dugouts look, there'll be the visitor's dugout, which will also have like a storage closet compartment kind of built onto the side of it for groundskeeping equipment for the field. And then the Home dugout will be more complex. It'll be a 2-story structure, kind of serving as a coach's room and a de facto press box. We got the original, we got the picture of that on Friday in terms of what it's going to look like. Everybody really likes it. We'll tinker with some of the colors and things like that, but it's a pretty good design. So looks like we're a go for that first phase of softball this summer, which is moving that whole project up 2 years. And that means 2 more cohorts of girls that'll get to experience that at the high school level. The following summer, 2026, it looks like at that point, that's when the concession stands, the restrooms, and the storage facility will get built, and it's going to be right on the other side of that walking path. So the way it's kind of pictured right now is as you walk into the parking lot, there'll be like a little concourse. On your left will be that press box, coach's room, home dugouts, and on your right would be the concession stand, restrooms, and then some storage for the team. And then the supporting infrastructure for that would also be built out summer of 2026, so sewer, water, et cetera. So that's kind of the current plan for those facilities, and I think we're in good shape as of right now. I'll be keeping you updated as things progress. We also have had very superficial initial conversations around the design of the new Explorer Elementary. That's really going to start to pick up with additional meetings, planning meetings that will start to pick up early 2025, so next month, February, March, and we'll start to get some thoughts together about how that looks like. Obviously, that's kind of the flagship project from this bond, and so it's going to take a lot more time to plan that than tennis courts, for example. But work is scheduled to get started on that. And then, as you know, we've delegated some of the other projects out to members of our staff. The main reason for that is it saves money, not having to pay a consultant to do work that we feel we can accomplish on our own. So examples like include band instruments, maintenance equipment, and then the other one in particular there's a lot of work going into right now are classroom furniture upgrades for the middle and high school. So Deb LaFleur and Steve Delp are both spending a lot of time organizing that. They got 3 different vendors they're working with. I think the intent is to set up like a furniture store of sorts in the schools. I was at the middle school last week where they literally had vans of furniture samples coming into an empty room. I know Deb and Steve went to the Steelcase display store showcase room in Ann Arbor last week, and they were working with them to look at different examples. And so the idea is hopefully to be, again, early 2025, there's going to be a lot of many different samples. Teachers, students will get to go through, take a look at those things, see what they prefer, what the feedback is, and then obviously it's all still going to come down to money, what we can afford. But they are doing a really nice job of organizing that and saving us money by not having to pay a consultant to do the same thing that they're doing on their own. So I just want to acknowledge the work that's taking place there by our principals in addition to all the other things that they're doing. And then finally, non-bond related project, it's connected to the bond now. As you might recall, the steering committee, for good reasons, had to make a lot of tough decisions, and one of the things they did was they prioritized the replacement of the phone system. But obviously things had to be cut. If you recall, the total needs based on the facility inspection of the district was somewhere around $100 million to address everything that needs to be done. The bond was for $38.5, and so just like everybody else, we have to live within our means and prioritize. And so the steering committee had to make some tough choices. They prioritized the replacement of our phone system, which is quite dated, but did not include the infrastructure that's needed to put the phone system in. So we're going to be paying for that most likely out of our sinking fund. It's a very complicated process. It's going to take a number of years. We might have to draw some from fund balance. We'll look at options. But the idea behind that is to put in recabling, so the network infrastructure that can run the new phones, but then also all the other new technology that's needed. And then looking at doing things like replacing classroom instructional equipment. And so we're doing some pilots of those right now. So I bring all this up as a preview. We're looking at probably around March where James Doyen will be bringing some additional information to the full board. We'll probably be giving a preview out to facilities and finance in advance of that to kind of look at what those needs are going to be over the next several years, and then what options are available to cover those expenses. But again, all kind of interconnected, and when you're looking at adding phone system and adding new infrastructure to the new Explorer Elementary, we also have to simultaneously address that at the other buildings so that all the systems work together. You can't have a brand new system in one building and an old system in the other that don't connect. So it's threading a needle, but James is doing a great job getting out in front of it and planning. As you might recall, we did bring in a consultant for that because that's a massive project, but you'll be getting more information here in the next few months on how all this fits together. So a little longer than normal, but that's the superintendent's report for this evening. Are there any questions I can address?
For the softball field and also, I guess, the tennis facility, our youth programs use those in the summertime. Is that being communicated to those that the softball field will not be able to be used for the Stings program for softball or baseball? And
Yeah, it will be once we get like more finite details on like what the timeline looks like.
okay.
One of the options, again, that we've discussed is because it's at the middle school, and one of the options we could do is try to delay starting that and getting that phase done like late summer through the fall, potentially, and that would preserve the JV varsity season for the high school, but then also some of the youth sports season, and at least maybe in May, June.
Mm-hmm.
More details to come as the timeline gets nailed down, but we are aware of that, and as soon as we get more solid information, that can get communicated out.
Any other questions? Pretty exciting stuff. Getting to buy some new stuff. Ooh. We do not have any board committee reports. Next, we're going to move into discussion items, and I'm going to turn it over to our famous history teacher from the high school, Ann Wade.
Thank you.
Dun, 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 dun.
I don't know about famous, but thank you for the drum roll. That's really
I think
amazing.
you're pretty famous, pretty spectacular. Won a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I think
You know,
got
never
some
stop
accolades
learning,
there.
never stop growing, never stop thinking
No,
and
I
doing.
mean, I had the great pleasure of looking at this book.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weight, isn't it? And I think they have a new book coming out, and I think it cuts out like the first like 8 chapters or 9 chapters, and then it starts, because they revamped the AP Hero
Smelling the books.
test. It cut out some years for us, so,
Wait,
yep.
I can pass this around. Do you want to go this way? I mean, it is, honestly, Michelle was telling me all of the great things in this book. And it is actually very cool if you look at it. So I didn't read the whole thing, but it does
Oh,
look
you didn't
cool.
read the whole thing yet?
I did not. I will get on it, but it does look cool. And this looks cool, so I'm
All
going
right.
to let you start.
Fabulous. Well, I mean, do I need to say any more? So last year in our department, we had, with the development of the 8th grade advanced history class, we had more students than ever before as freshmen apply for the AP US history class, which is now taught by Mrs. Bolus. We have 2 sections of A-Push, which is fantastic. And then I am now teaching, which I've been teaching for years, AP World History, which is for mostly our sophomore class students. And my students, for some reason, still want more history. And I've had, like the last 2 years, I've had 7 students take AP European History as an independent study. And when I talk about it, the kids are like, oh, that sounds like a really cool course, and we'd like to learn more about Europe. So here I am proposing that we offer an AP European History class to the students. On this PowerPoint, the first link up there is the link to this book, if you want. It's the entire course. It gives me sample test questions. It gives me the link to their website that all teachers have access to with sample test questions and actual test questions, how to formulate the class, the order of the curriculum, the years, the themes, the learning skills, all the things. So if you need that, that's included in on that first slide there. And it's like over 200 pages. you know, and so I keep this book out on my desk, and this is how I guide my course. I follow what AP wants me to teach, and then I try to challenge the children to do that. If you're not familiar with AP, the point of the AP class is to earn college credit by the time they take a test in May. In the many years that I've been teaching AP, so I've done AP Psychology, I teach AP Government, I've done APUSH, I've done AP Euro, not AP Euro, hope to do AP Euro, I'm looking for like a year from now, I'll be saying that. AP World History, and the point of an AP class is to earn college credit. And so I looked up the AP Euro college credit offerings at Michigan State. Students can earn anywhere between 3 and 8 credits at Michigan State if they earn a 3 or better on the AP exam. AP exams are scored on a rate of 5, a 5 being the highest, and then a 3 is passing. So if you look at the book, and in your packet, I think I included a sample test questions of 15 multiple choice. Would you like me to pause right now for you to take that test? Okay, seeing no takers. But students are, you know, yeah, so my goal for them is like, so during the year we learn the content of the course, like that you find in the textbook, but then also the skills for how to take the test. What I know too, in terms of kids who take the AP test, first of all, just sitting in the AP class, you don't have to take the AP test at the end of the class if you don't want to. Just sitting in there prepares you for college, whether it's like the high level discussions we have, whether it's the content that we cover. I frequently make connections between the past and the current situations going on the planet. And you may have heard there's like some issues in Europe right now. So this could give them more context between, you know, what's going on in Russia and Ukraine, what Germany's going through in terms of the challenges that their government is facing, and then how that plays a role even in like what happened in Syria over the weekend and what's going on in South Korea, as like a lot of these things are related back to our major event of 80 years ago with World War II. So anyway, I haven't even gotten past slide 1. So anyway, the kids can earn college credit if they do on the AP test. So anyway, because we also have the freshmen and sophomores taking those 2 classes, this gives them another offering at the junior or senior level that they could then build upon their history understandings. And I don't know about you, but I have 3 college boys. No, one's graduated and off the family payroll. But 2 boys who are in college, and all the kids had to take classes that were not related to their majors. They were all in like the STEM majors, but they had to take some history classes or some humanities classes, and these classes helped, this AP credit helped get them into the next level in their studying, perhaps. So that's, again, another reason to like push for AP European history. I gave you the suggested textbook. I texted a friend of mine who used to teach AP Euro, which class am I talking about? And she taught it in Pennsylvania. She's now a professor at U of M, and she recommended the Stearns book, which is also through the same company that we purchase our AP US book and our AP World book from. So this just seemed like a continuity. I'm familiar with their resources. I'm familiar with their online editions. And so I just kind of went with this. There's 15 books that were recommended by the AP. The AP also approves textbooks. And so I went with the one that they recommended, as well as other friends that also teach this course. And this is not the same book that East Lansing uses, but it's, again, you can see the thickness of it. It's pretty challenging. The reading is high level. And this type of book you'll find even at a freshman level college class, perhaps at Michigan State or U of M, just in terms of like Western civilizations. The course is broken up into 9 units, and in the first unit, we'll cover the same years, 1450 to 1648, with Renaissance and exploration, and then move to the Reformation. So they've got like 4 to 8 weeks in that particular first 2 units, and then units 3, 4, and 5, 1648 to 1815. I believe 1648 is the end of the 30 Years' War. 1517 is the beginning of the Reformation, when Martin Luther challenges the church and leads to the Protestant Reformation. So that's why that fits in that first time period. And then it leads to major conflict between Protestants and Catholics. Do you want me to give the whole history, or should I just like go over? There's the class. But I can go into more details if you need me to. And then, of course, culminating with units 8 and 9, hopefully to be taught in like April of next year, so the students can ace the exam in May. But these are all like evenly broken up in terms of like the first 2 units are like 25%. The next 3 units are also 25% of the overall course. Unit 6 and 7, another 25%. Units 8 and 9, another 25%. So yeah, that's kind of how that class is broken up. The themes of the course, so all the AP history classes are broken up into themes. In AP World, we talk about society, we talk about culture, we talk about politics, we talk about the environment, and the technology that's changed over time, and same sort of like themes with AP Euro. Although AP Euro adds the interaction of Europe and the world, which is why the starting time point is 1450 with the explorations there. And then this one also adds national and European identity, which I think is very intriguing in terms of looking at like how that's changed over time, you know, starting with the French Revolution, leading to the revolutions of the 1830s, leading to the challenges in the late 1800s and into the 1900s, and then the great wars of World War I and World War II. So I think, I don't know, super excited. Here's the Michigan standards that are covered. So it'll double up on some of the things that they cover in regular world history, if they only take world history, and it'll double up on some of the things we cover in AP World. But the nice thing is, it goes, again, into greater depth on the European history part of this. So this is kind of those connections there from the state. And then more social studies standards covered by the state. Mrs. Bolus is currently taking a class on the genocide, the Holocaust of World War II. And she mentioned that we as a district all students in the state of Michigan are required to get 8 hours. Okay, Lindsay, correct me if I'm wrong. 6 to 8 hours of instruction on the Holocaust itself. So this will add to their Holocaust understandings and the impact of those, the implications of those events that took place. So I will have the kids do regular current event discussions where we talk about what's going on in Europe right now and have them make connections to the past and like what are the events of the past that are causing these things to take place right now. You know, like whether it's the reunification in the 1990s, that's now like ancient history to these kids. Some of us in this room might be able to remember the reunification of Europe in the last like 30, 40 years. So it's like, oh, time just goes by so fast. And then, the depth of knowledge. So I mentioned, so this is a really very like layered class. So we start with maybe some basic geography and then names and dates and events. But really the big picture is, okay, here's the names and dates and events, but how do they impact the societies at this time? How do they impact us moving into the future? How does what Martin Luther did in 1517 still play a role in our societies today? Why are the Protestants and Catholics of England still very frustrated with each other? Why is there issues with like Muslims and Christians in Eastern Europe? Why does Putin want still more land in Ukraine? And I get to answer all those questions. Or have the kids seek those answers to the questions, even more importantly, and come to a greater understanding of like where we are on the planet overall. So that's a really tiny font up there. But anyway, we go with very lower like level thinking to the very like big questions of like, if this, then what? And how can you predict what's going to happen next? And what can we do with this information now going forward? So I think that's all I had on the, I know that's all I had on PowerPoint, but are there any questions?
Any questions?
You make it seem so fun.
It will be fun.
I know, I'm thinking maybe I need to cover this class.
You're welcome to come in any time and observe and question and ask for clarification from myself or the kids. And
What's happening? So with all of these AP classes that we have moving into history, do we still have kids taking just general world?
yes.
So,
Yep,
I mean,
so-
this isn't we still have those
Yep.
groups.
Yes.
And anyone that wants to take one of these AP classes, whether it's gonna be this one or another one,
Yep.
do they all, is there room? Do they all get in? Or-
Yes. Yep. Everybody's gotten in so far. I know many years ago we had as many as 3 sections at Baypush, but that's been down to 2 the last 10 years. AP World, I want to say like the first few years I taught it, it was like 1 section and to be packed. And now we've like spaced that out more so we have smaller sections.
Nice,
Um,
nice.
So, yeah, we're
So
just
it's
trying
growing.
to, sorry?
It's growing,
It is growing, yep,
growing.
yep. And I think kids are ready for those challenges, you know, and
Yeah,
want to think and try to understand their place on the planet, so.
So would Euro then be on a rotation every other year?
That I need to discuss with my department. I'm sorry, I don't have a straightforward answer for that. I think maybe Because right now I do AP Gov in the election years, and then we'll do AP Euro next year for sure, hopefully, depending on so 58 students said they were interested in the course. Whether or not they all show up when it comes to signing up for the course, we'll see. So yes, possibly rotational, or if we have enough interest, every year. So, yeah. And again, because we have so many kids taking APUSH and then going into AP World, that for the last 25 years, 25, let's see, my youngest is how old, Betsy? 20? Yeah, 20. So the last 20 years, I've alternated between APUSH and AP World. And now because it's offered at the freshman level for all the freshmen, then I don't have to rotate that anymore, so then I can rotate AP Gov and AP Euro.
Can you tell me what APUSH is?
AP, yeah, Advanced Placement United States History.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Right, I'm sorry, I use all the lingo, right? APUSH, and then there's WAP, and this class will be called APE. There's also AP Human Geography, which is called AP Hug. And don't we all want an AP Hug? I mean, come on.
I love that. Any other questions?
Do you have any idea how many students total in the high school are taking AP classes? I'm just curious.
Do you want all AP classes? Because we've got,
Yeah, we
That
have
might be
we have a, usually do a summary sheet,
Yeah.
and that'll have all that listed.
But
and,
it seems like it must be a fairly high percentage of the students.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's how we get, it's part of the honor roll criteria. Not just how many are enrolled, but how well they do on the assessment. And again, did a good job of kind of explaining the scores and how those work.
That's great.
yeah. My first time, so 2 years ago, I had 3 students do it as an independent study, and they all got 5s. Last year, I had 3 students do it as an independent study. They didn't all get 5s, but they all passed. So currently, the average for AP Euro is all passing. 3 point, it might be even a 4 might be the average score right now. So yeah, I think between Lindsay Bolus and she's got about 50, and then I've got another 50. So we've got about 100 in just the social studies right now.
That's great.
Yeah.
It is growing. Very nice. Any other questions? I mean, this sounds, I can't speak for everybody, so that's not my job, but it sounds very exciting.
Okay,
And
great.
lots of things that I would like to learn, go back to school and have it presented in an exciting way. I also want to thank you for this. This is one of the more thorough, detailed,
Ooh,
easy to kind of go through and read and questions that we've gotten in a long time for a class, so
Oh,
kudos
wonderful.
to you. This was done very nicely.
thank you.
Any other questions, any other thoughts, concerns? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to support our AP classes in general because I can't believe what a difference it made in cutting off a year's worth of college for my freshman.
Well, yeah,
It's impactful.
Yeah,
and-
It is a lot
and
of-
She's so much ahead of her
peers and
peers.
yep,
in getting, whether they get college credit or not, just
Yeah.
the experience. My daughter went to school with someone who loved taking the AP classes and then realized, this college probably wouldn't necessarily be her thing. And, she went into something else and is loving it and making a living and just bought a house and enjoying life. So there's so many different variables to everything. She liked being part of the discussion. There's many different aspects to some of those AP classes. So
Mhm.
we appreciate it.
Great job.
thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you very much.
Just a couple quick things though.
Go ahead.
Also, in your packet, there's I believe a login code, if you want to go in and look at more of the resources between now and January. We'll leave the book at central office if any folks from the community or board members would like to come in and look at it. And then if the board were to approve this in January, it would be ready for the high school course catalog when students start enrolling for classes early February. So this would be something that could run next year. And also just want to recognize and appreciate Ann for being here. She was at Model UN in Kalamazoo, just got back over the weekend, and so appreciate your time as well to come in and
Yeah,
present.
I
this
did
tonight.
not have a
You've
snow
been
day.
busy.
Well, can I get that in the minutes? Like,
Yeah. Sorry.
you know,
I know.
it happened last year at U of M too. Like it was a horrible storm. Like it took At U of M, you stay in one hotel and you transport to the conference, and it should take like 5 to 10 minutes. It took like 30 minutes, and the bus got stuck because the snow was so bad. In fact, kids got out of the bus. I think hockey players from another team got out of and pushed the bus out of the snow. So anyway, there's
It's
2
always an
snow days.
adventure.
And I've been.
It's always an adventure.
It is always an adventure, yep. I guess, when you travel in December and January,
Yeah,
it's a risk. So
but the
anyway.
kids love that part. That's the part,
Yep.
one of the parts that they remember.
Yep.
My daughter got stuck in snow too. So, and that was what she talked about at first.
It is, yeah. Well, and the kids don't miss as much from school, which is great. They only missed like 1 day instead of 2, and so that made it easier to come back.
So I do want to put this on the agenda for our January 6th meeting, the organizational meeting, but I would like to move this on for a vote. So if you have any other questions, thoughts, concerns, positives, negatives, whatever that might be, I would either get them to Adam so he can have a conversation with Ann, or get you hooked up with Ann, because I do think it's important if this is something we want to do. This isn't coming to us last minute, so we have time, and so I'd like to give them that respect of all the work that they put into this to get this on a vote for January. I think it's 6th, whatever our next meeting is. Okay, thank you very,
right.
very much.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes.
Okay, next, teacher tenure. Is there anything you want to say? I mean, these are always very, I've been on this board a long time. This teacher tenure thing is evolved, but these memorandums are laid out so nicely that it's very helpful. But is there anything else you want to add or say?
No, as usual, I think the principals have done a nice job with their supporting rationale and their write-ups, and I concur with their recommendations for both mid-year probation and, in one case, a tenure.
Do you have any questions about any of these, this staff? Not all teachers, or they're all in our district. Anybody? Okay, we can move that. Also for the January 6th meeting. Sorry, I want to. Moving on to, we've had some requests for extensions of maternity leave.
Yeah, 2 extensions of maternity leave as stipulated in your packet, and we are in support of both.
And we would have coverage for both of these, continued coverage for both of them.
Yes.
Any questions about these? Okay, we can move that to the January 6th meeting also. What's next? Bond bid approval process recommendation.
So, as we discussed at the last meeting, and with the Finance and Facilities Committee prior to that, this is a formal recommendation supporting what our legal counsel also proposes, that the board adopt a de facto amendment to policy 1325-R that would allow the board to approve in one meeting bids from Crispin Company serving in their role as the construction constructor for the bond, with the understanding that they have a obligation to present the board with the lowest responsible bidder for each bid. The thought behind this is that will keep, as those bids start coming in, and there will be many, that it will allow our projects to continue to move forward and stay on schedule. If there are any time where the board feels like they need more information or want to slow down, you obviously reserve your right to do so. And this would not apply to proposals that are being brought directly from administration, such as the maintenance equipment or classroom furniture that I discussed earlier this evening.
I also want to just add a little piece of this. When we approved them, that was, so it's kind of like we've already approved them to get those bids or to do that. We did that when that's part of their job. So when we approve to go with them, that kind of is approving that we've done that. And this, if they come to us and, I don't know what they need to do a building, I think we talked about this before, but if they come to us and need like 500 steel posts and, they can get them for $10 a piece, I know that's not right, but, and we have to wait a month, then that price could go to $15 a piece, and that's a lot of money when we're talking about all of this. So I did ask Adam to write this memorandum. I would like to vote on this just so it's part of the record, just give us an extra layer, but this is part of their job and one of the reasons why we hired them, and a lot of this stuff then is tied up. The state says all of the restrictions and what they need to go through, so we are trusting them to bring us the lowest bid.
Would you like us to vote on this tonight, or?
I don't think there's no rush.
Okay, so nothing's gonna be ordered in the next
Right,
little bit, yeah.
because the Crispin contract has taken a little longer than we initially thought, this is contingent on that being approved by the board anyway,
Right.
so, yeah, we're fine.
And I don't constantly want to have to set aside the rules either. I know how I hate that. Chris, from a financial chairperson, do you have anything else to add? I know we've talked about this.
No, I mean, I'm in support of it. I think the committee talked about it, and the committee's in support of this, so we recommend the board approve this.
All right, so we will also move that for the January meeting. Also, next up is the football.
Yeah, and I asked Paige Paulson to stick around too, in case there's any
I thought he was
questions
just
or
here.
Yeah, I thought
anything
he was
else that
just
comes
being
up with
friendly.
this. He's
Goodness,
been
I'm sorry.
our point person on that.
You think it's okay.
So interesting.
So this has been discussed similarly with finance and facilities, and then informally at the last regular board meeting as part of the minutes of that meeting. Since then, like I said, Paige has continued to work with the fundraising agency, and we have, after several drafts of this, I think come to an agreement in terms of what that arrangement would look like. The big picture, to kind of back up and go through what we're trying to achieve here, the track football complex scoreboard is nearing end of life and has definitely reached that point in terms of its aesthetic value, but at some point that's going to go out. We've already had to make some significant repairs to it in the past season or two. The idea here is that it's going to be a significant cost to replace that, and again, we're trying to preserve our fund balance, save as much money as we can to put towards other things potentially. And this fundraising opportunity has a chance to cover the entire cost of that, or at a minimum, a portion of the cost, which would then reduce the district's direct contribution to that project. So essentially, we contract with this third party. They go out and do the work of trying to find donors that would be willing to support the construction of that new scoreboard in exchange for an advertising arrangement on the scoreboard. The goal here is their target is to raise $200,000. We've put a checkpoint in place for that of March 7th to be able to bring the board back a status update on that, and potentially make some decisions at that point once more information is known about what they're able to achieve. And Paige, correct me if I'm wrong, if they are able to raise the $200,000, in other words, they get contracts and commitments for that amount, which could come over a period of years, then at that point, the district would move forward with the project with the understanding that they have raised a sufficient amount of money. However, in the meantime, let's say they have that money, they put together a contract for advertisers over 5 years, 6 years, we would pay the balance of that money up front, and then we would be reimbursed the rest of it as the money continued to come in from advertising over the duration of the contract. So, I mean, hypotheticals, right? They raise $60,000 cash in hand, and then we would pay up front another $140,000 plus the cost of installation. And then that 140 would be reimbursed to the district over the next 5 years as the remainder of those advertising contracts, the money came in from those. Does that sound like an accurate?
Yeah, in very simple terms, basically, the raise we get back in the revenue, and then again, it doesn't just shut off after that point you break even. There is potential to exceed that just depending on how much advertising is committed to or available, or with new advertisements.
So basically, if I'm understanding correctly, we pay for this upfront. We're gonna pay for the scoreboard upfront.
Not necessarily, it just depends on how many potential contracts that can get signed. Obviously, it's a large number. If you think in smaller terms, as far as the scores table at the basketball games or volleyball, or wrestling, if you've been to that, that was done through the same company and same principle. Obviously, a much smaller value, but we didn't have anything out of pocket because they were able to raise enough money to purchase the thing and start their project. And then at some point, they have reached their money that they have needed for the entire project, and we would see the additional money come back to us as ad revenue. So it's something like that. So upfront, no, $200,000 upfront, not necessarily. It depends on how much they make and how much cash in hand. So if they solicit a advertisement for 5 years, they may get a $30,000 down payment. Well, that would be cash in hand, and then the rest of it they would be committed to over a certain amount of years. They would take their money for their overhead costs, and we would get that other portion back to replace what we paid either through a loan or through upfront fund balance, or whatever the district decided to do to close that $200,000 gap.
So is this something that we need to do by, will the scoreboard that we have right now get us through track season? Or
I
do
mean,
we need to replace it? The scoreboard is a necessity for track, essentially. There's nothing that it can provide besides just a visual timing. It's Right.
not anything necessity. I mean, there's a likelihood it could get us through football, but there's also a likelihood it could go out the first game.
Right,
Right,
and
and
it below
yeah.
us, then we're in trouble.
Yeah, so.
So is the thought then of at least getting this done by fall for football?
Yeah,
Or we're
depending
just
on what-
still,
Depending on what they can do, what they can raise, what you
What
decide
works
as
best.
far as what's possible, what's feasible. I mean, there's a lot of variables, but I mean, the pie in the sky would be that we were able to get it installed sometime in August, if everything went exactly according to plan.
Sorry, can I add another detail?
no,
There's
absolutely.
also a good probability, and again, we don't know until they get started, and what we're really looking tonight is just to inform you of what we're trying to accomplish, right? Because bottom line is, the scoreboard's gonna need to get replaced, we're gonna have to pay for it, that's, right? What we're trying to do is defer the cost of that, or maybe
Get some
entirely
help
pay
with
for it, right? But
Right.
either way, it has to happen, and it's not cheap. Now, that being said, this is a really nice scoreboard that's being proposed here for this amount. There could be a scenario where they don't raise, or they can't raise this full amount, and there's a lesser amount that they're able to do. And then we would bring that back to the board and say, okay, here are your options, right? We're not locked into anything at that point because they didn't hit the target. And based on what they are able to raise and what the board feels like they want to contribute from district funds to this, we can scale it back, and it might not be as nice, but something that is going to be better than what we have, and obviously, most importantly, will function. So unless the target fundraising goal is reached, in which case, that's great. But unless that happens, we'll be bringing this back to the board in March. That's why that checkpoint is there. Give you an update and see what your thoughts are based on the information that's available at that point. So you're not approving anything tonight other than we want it, because it's a big amount of money. We want to make sure you're informed, so you get a chance to see what we're trying to accomplish, and kind of know what the timeline and the goals are in writing for what this initiative is trying to get done.
So does really nice scoreboard mean last longer?
Paige, you know a little more about
Yeah.
the time, the lifespan?
I wish everything had a certain life expectancy. I would say averages of it, the scoreboard that is presented in the packet is a video board, something we don't have, something that could benefit in multiple sports and not just the current ones that are going on, but highlight different things in, at our biggest events, right, Friday nights.
Right.
Whether it be band or just anything going on. That, 15 years
It's a
is
long
kind
time.
of like, again, video boards aren't, just like scoreboards are obviously much older and it started a long time ago. Video boards are a newer thing, so they're still getting like, what is the average of something like that, bigger, even technology. The bonus is if something goes out, the video boards aren't just one thing like they should be, they're 1x1 squares. So it's either replacing a 1x1 square of that entire video board, so it's not a complete replacement. There's also, anything that we do would be there'd be a standalone static scoreboard, and that's your normal, like we have right now. So picture what's right now, you just have a video board on top. So we're always gonna have a clock that has score, time, and that kind of things for that purpose. I mean, we do a lot of youth, and to have something that's all digital, right? The ability to run it, plug it in, and teaching somebody is just not feasible. So we're always gonna have that static option,
Nice.
in which obviously has less components and a potential of a longer life expectancy. But no, it's not something that's like 8 years something and we're replacing all the
Replacing it.
time. I mean, it'd be basically just kind of like anything else that has that kind of big technology type thing. Yes, it's going to reach its life point at some time, but it's not going to be in a turnaround like your television 4K to 8K type thing.
Yeah. I mean,
I really like the idea of sponsoring such an expensive item, but I have some concerns about who those sponsors might be and what they might represent. Are they socially responsible? Are they political? Are they religious? And so I'm curious about the process as to who vets those sponsors, or if there's an approval of said sponsors, because we have to be like Switzerland.
Yeah, that's a great question. We have the ability, they come when they get new sponsors, just like our score table. We approve what's on them. We approve the ad, so to speak, before it gets put on.
And who's the we in your?
I guess if it's anything if it's anything questionable, I would give the ad. We haven't had anything of that. It's just basically a company name, launch.
Yeah. So there's still board policy around advertising and what's appropriate, right? So it would be similar here, I would think, that, if there's something that wasn't in keeping with what's already been outlined for other advertising around the district, that we would be able to interject there. But I think it is important, something that, Paige can keep an eye on as the project starts, to make sure that entities that are looking to advertise are fitting within the constraints of board policy.
Great, thanks.
idea.
If we did need to scale back, would the contracts with the advertisers need to be renegotiated?
Yeah, so that's, thankfully, the benefit of this is that is all done through them. So there's not a lot of work on our end of that. But yes, if they have commitments, the obligation as outlined is to promote them in some form. So if we did scale back and you purchase a video rolling advertisement, your advertisement now may become a static advertisement underneath or around the scoreboard. But that is something that they lay out with their contracts with the advertisements. So our obligation going through it is to promote or have them on there. Maybe it's a windscreen or something. That's the caveat of it. If they do sign on and the project does not reach fruition, to keep that down payment, we do have to provide some sort of visual signage, which would probably be around the scoreboard that we decided to go with that isn't the video board, or however it shakes out.
So,
Any other questions?
And I asked Paige to stick around just because it was a very creative idea, a way to accomplish something that's definitely going to be a need, and an expensive need, and looking at a way to promote local and area businesses, get them in front of thousands of people, also highlight some of the things that are happening in the district that we can convey to a captive audience on certain evenings, and then obviously defray the out-of-pocket cost to the district for something that's necessary, but also a significant investment. So appreciate his initiative with getting this going.
Yeah, great idea. Great. Anything to help us think outside the box of those dollars that we need to spend, and how to bring in some revenue and some help and support. So thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Can't wait to hear more on that. And you may go. I thought he was just here to hear Ann Wade speak about the AP class. Wondered if that was,
Next time, pass my silver podcast.
or making sure those kids are in bed before you get home.
Have a great evening.
Okay, moving on to our action items. Can I please have a motion to approve our minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes
Second.
of the
Oh.
November 11th, 2024 board meeting.
So that was first by Deb, second by Dave. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Right?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we do not have any roll call items right now, but I do have a separate action item to approve the staff holiday bonus.
Make a motion that the Williamston Community Schools Board of Education approves staff holiday bonuses as recommended.
Second.
So I have a first by Chris, second by Sarah. Any other discussion? Go ahead.
I know you haven't voted yet, so it's probably a little out in front of things, but I do want to say that I've had many staff members of the district ask me to convey their appreciation for this. Even I was at the holiday party today for the transportation department, and they wanted to make sure I relayed their thanks. So it's a small amount of money, I know, but it's people have been grateful, and so now I'll let you vote, because I hopefully just didn't stick my foot in my mouth. But,
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next, we do have a retirement correspondent from staff member Eileen Corbett. She's been here a long time, way before I started working here.
Over 30 years.
Yeah, so it's going to be a loss to our district, but I'm excited for her and the next the next stage of her life, or whatever she does. It's always a bittersweet. It's always an exciting time for those individuals, but then sad for us because our district is losing a long-time employee.
yeah, she's great. I mean, she's been here, longer than I have as well, and she's one of those people that does a great job. Is awesome with kids, supports staff, and does all the things that you would want above and beyond, but also keeps her head down, and it's just one of those people that makes our district outstanding, but doesn't draw any attention to herself. Anyway, great person, great member of our team, and definitely look forward to celebrating her with our other retarees later this year.
She's also done a number of things in our district.
A lot of roles.
Like, she's had a lot of roles, and just, never complains, just moves on. So, really great individual, so I'm very excited for her for the next piece. Now we're coming to the end of our meeting for any citizen comments. Step on up.
Good evening, everyone. Jonathan Ellis, 1285 Cambridge Circle here in Williamston, teacher at the high school and WEA co-president, and I would just like to express our gratitude and thank you for the holiday bonus. It will mean a lot to a lot of our members, and I'm looking forward to giving them the news. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Okay. Now we're up to board member reports and requests. I have a couple. One that several board members, we do have, it's really exciting and great to see that we have some sporting events going on right now, but it does make the parking lot really tight. So,
People got really mad at me on
yeah,
my entrance here.
really,
So-
it does. So there was some suggestions about seeing if we could have the buses. I know it doesn't open a ton of spaces, but it does open some, to move to maybe the front of the school or off, I don't know, pick a
Thank you. I
different
was gonna
spot,
ask
because
about
they are
that.
taking up a lot of space and there
There's
are
a
a lot of
front
people
lot.
walking around.
There's a front lot here in the middle school that maybe, like, not only just like around the staff parking, but that overflow
Flow
parking.
parking. Just makes it a little safer for people, so they're not having to park on the side or park on the grass, or there were a couple people parking on grass. I saw people out there asking them to move it, and so that would just be helpful. The second thing, I know Julie Conley could not be here today, and I want to extend, her term is up, she's been on this board for 6 years. I want to extend a hearty thank you and gratitude to all the work that she has put into this board over the last 6 years. It is not a secret, there are a lot of things that her and I didn't agree on, but the respectful dialogue and conversation that we could have, there were a lot of times she did make me think and brought up some new questions, and I appreciate that. She served a role for some parents and some support, and supported a lot of parents in our district, and she will be greatly missed, and I'm sure she has bigger and brighter things that she's moving on to also, but I do want to just extend that thank you to her, even though she can't be here tonight.
We have also on behalf of the board, there's a plaque for Julie, and I'll present that to her at a later date.
I also did receive a message from Todd Walters. He's one of our bus drivers, wanting to make sure that I extended an appreciation to all of you. Thank you for the holiday bonus. He was very appreciative of that. And it is nice to get those thank yous. We don't always get that. So that was very lovely. I also do want to wish all of our staff and all of you a very happy holiday. I hope you get some time to spend with your loved ones and family, friends, relaxing, whatever you're going to do. I hope you enjoy it. I have a feeling with this bond and everything that's coming up, we're going to have a very busy several years, so rest up. These meetings could get a little longer as we move on. Any other board member requests, reports?
I just want to apologize. I want everyone to know I was not on my phone all evening. I don't know where I left my laptop in my hurry to get here from work.
That's okay.
But I was not. I was using board book on my phone.
I see there are a lot of people that do their work on their phone. I'm just too old and can't
I'm not
see.
one of them, yeah. No, I'm freaking out as to where that laptop might be. But.
Anybody else? All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
First by Chris, second by Deb. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?